Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Cycle on Global Television. We're live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe. President Bola Tinubu has reassured that his administration would continue to put in place policies aimed at industrializing Nigeria. A statement by Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajure Ngelale, says Tinubu disclosed this when he received a delegation of the African Association of Automotive Manufacturers and the Nigerian Automotive Manufacturers Association. The president, represented by his chief of staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, met the members led by Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Doris Uzoka Anite, in the nation's capital. President Tinubu urged the associations to look into producing vehicles that will be affordable for all categories of Nigerians, as government rolls out consumer credit for millions of citizens to purchase vehicles and other essential goods and service. First Lady Senator Oluremi Tinubu has commended Second Lieutenant Oluchukwu Owowo for emerging as the first Nigerian female cadet graduate from the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, in the United Kingdom. The president's wife, who received Owowo, led by Major General John Ocha, the Commandant, Nigerian Defense Academy, NDA, to the State House, described her achievements as outstanding and divine. She also commended the Nigerian Army for giving a female the chance to excel, encouraging the nation's youth to emulate Owowo's resilience and caution them to desist from being destructive, lousy, and problematic. The National Examinations Council, NECO, says it has digitized the recruitment process for examination supervisors and assistant supervisors for the Basic Education Certificate Examination and the Senior School Certificate Examination, SSCE, both internal and external. The digitization seeks to check sharp practices in the recruitment process as well as enhance efficiency and effective service delivery. The digitization process, which involves a migration from the manual recruitment of supervisors and assistant supervisors to online system, would ensure that supervisor nomination forms, appointment letters, and supervisor e-photo albums are generated online. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, Adejoke Orolokbe Adefolire, has called for considerable attention to the welfare and development of senior citizens across the country. He made the appeal during a strategic partnership meeting with a delegation from the National Senior Citizens Center led by the Director General, Omokao. Orelokbe Adefolire highlighted the importance of integrating the National Senior Citizens Policy at the sub-national level to ensure a more effective implementation and support for elderly citizens. The call for greater attention to senior citizens comes amid growing concerns over issues such as access to healthcare, social inclusion, and economic support for the elderly, which have been exacerbated by various socio-economic factors. In a bid to achieve the zero malaria target in Nigeria, the federal government has emphasized the need to move from idealism to pragmatism. Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Mohammed Ali Pate, stated this at the Ministerial Roundtable meeting on rethinking malaria elimination in Nigeria held in Abuja. The meeting was aimed at providing stakeholders the opportunity to assess the current malaria situation in the country, evaluate the effectiveness of the existing tools in addressing the malaria scourge, and rethink the approach factors facilitating or mitigating the progress towards the elimination of malaria in Nigeria. And still talking health matters, in the fight against cross-border banditry, the Nigerian armed forces have apprehended a notorious Nigerian bandit kingpin known as Kachala Mai Daji near the border town of Ilela in Niger. According to Zagazola Makama, a security analyst and counterinsurgency expert, Kachala Mai Daji has left a trail of terror and devastation across northeastern Nigeria over the past decade. Kachala Mai Daji was captured by Nigerian forces as he attempted to rustle livestock across the Nigeria-Niger border. The Judicial Commission of Inquiry set up by the Kano State government to investigate causes of political violence and missing persons from 2015 to 2023 has solicited the assistance of the media in achieving its mandate. Chairman of the panel, Zuwaira Yusuf, made the appeal while delivering her speech at the inaugural sitting of the commission in Kano. Justice Yusuf told journalists to report the activities of the commission with utmost professionalism by being fair and factual on its proceedings. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, says it has concluded plans with the Office of the National Security Advisor to reduce the number of security checkpoints at the country's airports. This follows complaints by travelers who have bemoaned the delays caused by multiple physical security checks. The managing director of the authority, Olubunmi Kuku, said the agency and the office of the NSA have agreed to carry out short and long-term measures to address the issue. Part of the measures, he says, will include the creation of a joint coordination room where all the agencies can perform the necessary checks by monitoring CCTV cameras. Adamawa State government has closed down public and private schools following the outbreak of measles in the state. The closure notice was contained in a statement signed by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education and Human Capital Development, Aisha Umar, in Yola, the state capital. Umar's closure was to mitigate the spread of the disease and enable the State Primary Health Care Development Agency vaccinate the vulnerable age group. The ministry therefore announced today, Monday, May 13, 2024, as a new resumption date for the school. To support the expansion of Nigeria's pharmaceutical sector, the federal government has reaffirmed its intention to implement the 5+5 regulatory scheme, which grants a last 5-year renewal to a company that imports medication that the country's pharmaceutical industry is capable of producing. During the 5-year renewal period, the importer must migrate to local manufacturing or partner with local manufacturers. This is an outcome of a study that was done in 2019 that revealed that the top 5 drugs that are imported are also the top 5 drugs that are manufactured in the country. The federal government has disclosed that it will flush out persons in public and private organizations working with fake certificates. Minister of Education, Professor Tahiru Mama, disclosed these when he received the report of an interministerial investigative committee on degree certificates milling from the chairman of the committee, Professor Jobrila Amin. Maman, who expressed sadness over what was uncovered during the investigations, said the ministry would work with relevant agencies to sanitize the education sector and rid it of any fake tendencies, while noting that the ministry is determined to take steps to sanitize the system. It vowed to take decisive actions to ensure standards are enshrined in the system. The coalition of Niger Delta ex-agitators for good governance has countered the appointment of the administrator, Presidential Amnesty Program, Dennis Otwari. At a World Press briefing in Abuja, the group said the announcement was not in favor of Ijaw Nation and Niger Delta at large. Samuel Odi has more.
The appointment of Administrator Presidential Amnesty Program Dennis Otwari has created a lot of controversy among various groups in the Niger Delta region. The group says the administrator appointment is detrimental to the Ijaw Nation as well as the Niger Delta region.
His appointment is not in the interest of the entire Ijaw Nation and Niger Delta at large due to the following reasons. Number one, his appointment was influenced by an avaricious interest who subverted the struggle as his personal entity at the detriment of the entire Ijaw Nation and Niger Delta at large. Two, the Ijaw Nation is currently enslaved as a result of one personal desperate attempt to seize everything for himself.
The group therefore appealed to the federal government to intervene and ensure that one man's political intrigues does not dominate the entire Niger Delta region. Samuel Odi reporting for Global Television.
Thank you, Samuel. You're watching News Cycle coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @Global TVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. When News Cycle returns, Envoy says trade volume between Nigeria and the United Kingdom stands at £7 billion. These and other stories coming right after this short break. Do stay with us. This is Global Television, bringing you a live broadcast of the News Cycle with Uyi Agumofwegbe. We appreciate you for staying with us. Now let's take you to the foreign scene, where Britain's ruling Conservatives have braced for further losses in local elections. The worst results in recent memory and a key test before a general election to be held by January. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's party lost early 500 councils and control of 12 councils, as well as parliamentary seats after voting Thursday across a swathe of England saw the Labour opposition make huge gains. The beleaguered Tory leader faces more likely defeats when results of crunch mayoral races in London, Liverpool and Manchester are announced Saturday. Israel's military has called for the evacuation of Palestinians from eastern Rafah ahead of a ground invasion of the city. This is as Gaza aid officials said Israel jets struck two areas where the warning had been issued. The evacuation call followed intensified disagreements between Israel and Hamas over the Islamist group's demands to end the 7-month war during weekend talks in Cairo. Consultations between two other mediators, the United States and Qatar, were expected today in Doha, but state-linked media in Egypt said negotiations had stalled after a rocket strike killed 4 Israeli soldiers yesterday. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to send ground troops in against Hamas fighters in Rafah, regardless of any truce, and despite concerns from the United States, other countries, and aid groups. Truce talks, in the meantime, were expected to resume in Egypt, aimed at halting months of war in Gaza between Hamas militants and Israel that have triggered widening protests around the world. Mediators from Qatar, Egypt, and the United States have been waiting for the Palestinian Islamist movement to respond to a proposal that, according to details released by Britain, would halt fighting for 40 days and exchange hostages for Palestinian prisoners. Months of negotiations stalled in part on Hamas's demand for a lasting ceasefire and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's repeated vows to crush the group's remaining fighters in Rafah along the Egyptian border in Gaza's far south. And in business, the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Richard Montgomery, says the trade relations between Nigeria and his country, the United Kingdom, have reached $7 billion. Speaking in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, Montgomery announced that the two nations have signed a new agreement on enhanced trade and investment partnership. The agreement aims to boost cooperation in key sectors such as agriculture, creative industries, legal services, financial services, and education. The pension fund assets have witnessed a decline in March this year due to exchange rate pressures. The net assets of value of the fund dropped to 19.669 trillion naira from 19.759 trillion naira recorded in the previous net asset value, falling by 90 billion naira. This was shown in the National Pension Commission, PENCOM, unaudited reports on pension funds industry portfolio for the period ended 31 March, released on April 25. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, says the international oil companies have proposed 26 oil blocks to be divested to indigenous companies with 8.211 million barrels of oil reserves. The Commission's Chief Executive, Gbenga Komolafe, said these are the industry dialogue on IOC's divestment of oil and gas assets in Abuja. The Commission said it had also engaged two leading global oil and gas decommissioning consultants to carry out due diligence on the proposed 26 oil blocks to be divested. The federal government says it will stop granting licenses to gas companies with no capacity to build pipelines for gas distribution. This, the government said, became necessary to discourage the transportation of compressed natural gas through the roads. Minister of State for Petroleum and Gas, Ekperikpe Ekpo, made this disclosure when he was in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. Ekpo had visited Abeokuta for an on-the-spot assessment of Saturday's CNG explosion at Itoshin. Now time to bring you some excitement from the world of sports. The Universal Boxing Organization, UBO, has conferred the prestigious title of Boxer of the Month for April 2024 on Nigerian boxing sensation Rashid Idowu, following his remarkable victory in a highly controversial bout in Accra, Ghana. In an official statement addressed to the Nigerian Boxing Board of Control, General Secretary Remi Bodiri, UBO Vice President David Meisner lauded Idowu's exceptional performance against his Ghanaian opponents, Besti Samir, ultimately resulting in a second-round knockout. Two more Nigerian relay teams, the men's and women's 4x100-meter squads, have secured automatic qualification for the Paris Olympics after making the best use of their second chances at the just concluded World Relays in Nassau, Bahamas. The women's 4x100-meter team, led by Nigeria's 200-meter indoor and outdoor record holder, Favor Ofili, secured their passage to Paris first. The quarter of Justina Eya Beyobeya, Ofili, Olayinka Olajide, and Tima Godbless displayed impressive teamwork, storming to victory in a time of 42.71 seconds, booking their spots in the 2024 Olympics. Ofili blazed through the second leg, putting Nigeria in a strong position with reigning National Sports Festival double sprint champion Tima Godbless anchoring the team home in first place ahead of Switzerland, who claimed the second automatic ticket in the third qualifying feat. Quite impressive, no doubt about that. Still talking sports now. Officials have announced that referee Jared Gillett will wear a camera during Premier League match between Crystal Palace and Manchester United. The Premier League stressed footage from the camera will not be broadcast live, but rather used as a part of a program to be shown later in the year that aimed to offer further insights and education into the demands of officiating in English football top flights. Gillett will wear a head-mounted device that will form part of the standard referee communication system for major fixtures. Some innovation there, no doubt. That's it on News Cycle, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276, and they follow us on all our social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles, as you now see on your screen. I'm Uyi Agmofuwe saying thank you for watching. Coming up shortly is Big Talk with Michael Edika. Have a great time watching.